I was chewing on a cold convenience store sandwich and mentally calculating my daughter's preschool tuition when the Uber request pinged for a late-night pickup. The neon glow of the downtown Los Angeles clubs flickered across the car's windows, illuminating the couple cuddled intimately in my back seat. The moment the woman looked up, my hand jerked on the wheel, and I nearly slammed the car into the guardrail. That beautiful face. I had kissed it just this morning before she left for work. She told me she was working late. The handsome guy in the passenger seat chuckled softly. Chloe, if your husband was as thoughtful as me, you wouldn't have to work so many late nights entertaining clients. My wife swatted his arm playfully, then slid a credit card through the gap between the seats. Driver, the Hilton, please. And keep the change. It was the supplementary black card I had saved for 3 years to give her as a birthday present. My phone vibrated. A text from the preschool teacher. Mr. Carter, Mia has a fever. Could you please come pick her up? I took a deep breath and slammed on the brakes. This is your stop. As she stared at me, her eyes blazing with anger, I pulled down my face mask. Honey, I should introduce you. This is my side hustle. The neon lights bled across the windshield like spilled paint. Red, green, purple, slicing through the stale air inside the car. I licked my cracked lips, the taste of cheap bread and processed turkey still coating my tongue. My stomach felt like a lead weight as I tallied up the month's bills. Car payment, insurance, rent, utilities, and the fast-approaching activity fee for Mia's preschool. The couple in the back was pressed close, their low laughter sticky and cloying. I kept my eyes on the road, not looking back. I'd picked them up outside a high-end nightclub. The fare was good, which usually meant the clients were wealthy, entitled, and completely inconsiderate. The passenger window was cracked an inch, and the night air snaked in, carrying the city's roar and a trace of cheap perfume. Hey, driver, can you crank the AC? It's hot, the man in the passenger seat said, his voice a practiced, lazy drawl. Sure thing, I answered, turning the dial. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him reach back, his hand casually draping over the woman's shoulder, his fingertips brushing against her bare arm. She giggled, her voice a breathy purr. Stop it. That voice. It pierced my ears like a fine needle, a soft but sharp prick of recognition. It was so familiar, so achingly familiar it sent a jolt of panic through me. On instinct, I glanced up at the rearview mirror. A strobing neon sign lit up the car's interior at that exact moment. The woman in the mirror was leaning her head against her companion's shoulder, her face radiant, her eyes sparkling. Boom! It was like a sledgehammer had struck my skull. My mind instantly wiped blank. My hands went slack. The steering wheel swerved violently to the side, the tires screaming as they scraped against the concrete divider. The entire car lurched toward the guardrail. Shit! The man in the passenger seat yelled, grabbing the door handle. Adrenaline surged through me. I bit down hard, my body reacting on pure instinct, yanking the wheel back and pumping the brakes. The car fishtailed wildly for a second before I wrestled it back into the lane, a thin plume of smoke rising from the tires. My heart was a jackhammer against my ribs. Cold sweat instantly soaked through the cheap fabric of my work shirt. What the hell is wrong with you? Do you even know how to drive? The man shouted, his voice shaky with residual fear. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. My eyes were glued to the rearview mirror. The woman in the back had been terrified, too. She sat up, one hand pressed to her chest as she looked forward. Her eyes met mine in the mirror, my horrified, disbelieving stare colliding with hers. Time froze. That face. I had kissed it this morning before leaving the house. She'd frowned, pushing me away, saying she was going to be late, that I would smudge her lipstick. She said she was working late tonight, not to wait up for dinner. Chloe, my wife. The color drained from her face, leaving it a ghostly white. Her pupils dilated, her perfectly painted lips parting slightly, frozen in a mask of pure shock. The car was utterly silent, save for the low rumble of the engine. The man in the passenger seat seemed oblivious to the sudden, icy tension. Or maybe he just didn't care. He broke the silence with a smug little laugh, leaning toward Chloe with a nauseating intimacy. That was a close one. Chloe, you know, if your husband knew how to take care of a woman like I do, a private car, always attentive, you wouldn't have to work so hard entertaining clients, would you? He drew out the words entertaining clients, loading them with a sleazy, suggestive weight. Chloe flinched as if she'd been burned. She shot a panicked, terrified glance at me in the mirror, then shoved the man beside her. Her voice was too loud, a theatrical, desperate attempt to cover the truth. What are you talking about? You're awful. She fumbled in her expensive handbag, her fingers trembling as she pulled out a credit card. She thrust it through the gap between the seats, refusing to look at me, her words tumbling out in a rush. D driver, sorry about that. Just take us to the Hilton. Hurry, and you can keep the change. The card was solid black, its edges trimmed with a thin line of platinum. It caught the dim interior light, reflecting a cold, arrogant gleam. It felt like a blade of ice driving straight into my eyes, into my heart. The supplementary black card I had earned for her. 3 years of scrimping and saving, of eating cheap sandwiches and driving until dawn, pinching every single dollar. I presented it to her on her birthday, my hands trembling, telling her it was a surprise. Chloe, from now on, buy whatever you want. You deserve it. She had wrapped her arms around my neck, her smile radiant. You're the best husband in the world. Now, she was using that same card to pay for a hotel room with another man. Paying me, the man she called driver, as a tip. My stomach churned, the sour taste of the cold sandwich rising in my throat. I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles turning white, just to keep my hand from shaking. Just then, the phone in my pocket buzzed. And again, a persistent, demanding vibration. A text from Mia's preschool teacher. At this moment, in this living hell, it felt like the final straw, settling with unbearable weight. Mr. Carter, Mia suddenly has a high fever, 103. She keeps crying for her mom and dad. Can you or Mrs. Carter come get her as soon as possible? Mia, a fever, 103. Every word was a red-hot nail hammered into my brain. The world went silent. The neon lights, the city noise, the passenger's sneer, Chloe's frantic breathing. It all faded into a distant hum. I sucked in a sharp breath. It tasted like blood and burned my lungs. Then, I slammed my foot on the brake. The tires shrieked in protest, the sound tearing through the night. The car jerked to a stop in the middle of the road, the inertia throwing both of them forward. God damn it. What the foo? The man in the passenger seat was caught off guard, his forehead nearly hitting the back of the seat in front of him. Chloe cried out as her purse fell, its contents spilling across the floor. Before either of them could react, I unbuckled my seatbelt. Every movement felt like a rusted gear grinding into place, slow, stiff, but with a terrifying finality. I turned around, finally facing them directly. Chloe's face was a grotesque mask of shock, rage, and a lingering trace of her earlier flirtatiousness. She looked like she wanted to scream at me, but the words died in her throat under my gaze. I reached up and slowly pulled down the face mask that had covered the lower half of my face. The dim light of the car illuminated my sweat-dampened hair, the dark circles under my eyes from years of sleepless nights, my chapped lips, and my gaze, which was now so calm it was cruel. I looked directly into her eyes. My voice was hoarse, like sandpaper on rusted iron, each word landing like a hammer blow in the suffocating silence. Honey, I forgot to introduce myself. This is my side hustle. The moment I pulled the mask down, her eyes widened as if she were seeing a ghost. The most terrifying, impossible specter in the world. Raw terror flooded her face, drowning out every other emotion. Her beautiful features went pale as a sheet, and her lips began to tremble violently. She couldn't form a single word. The man next to her froze, the arrogant smirk wiped from his face. He stared at me, then at her, clearly unable to process this sudden, insane turn of events. The world dissolved into the blurred streaks of light outside the car and the suffocating silence within. I watched her, waiting for her judgment, or perhaps for mine. The man's arrogant expression was frozen solid, like a rooster caught by the neck mid-crow. He stared, his eyes darting between me and Chloe, his mouth hanging open. Chloe's face went from deathly pale to a deep, blotchy purple of shame and fury. Her body went rigid, then began to shake with tiny, violent tremors, not from fear, but from the pure, unadulterated rage of being caught in her most humiliating secret. Now, Leo. Her voice cracked, a shrill, metallic screech. Are you following me? You son of a bitch, you're actually following me? You asshole. She lunged forward, trying to claw at my face, but her seatbelt jerked her back. The motion was clumsy, frantic. I stared at her, the cold sandwich still burning in my stomach, but my heart was a block of numb ice. I didn't answer her accusation. I simply turned my phone around so she could see the screen, the teacher's text message displayed in sharp, clear letters. Mia has a fever. 103. My voice was as flat and lifeless as a pool of stagnant water. Her teacher tried calling you, but you didn't answer. So she called me. Chloe's crazed expression faltered. Her eyes fell to the screen, and for a split second, I saw a flicker of something. Was it concern? Panic? But it was gone in an instant, swallowed by an even greater wave of fury. So what? Kids get fevers all the time. Give her some Tylenol, and she'll be fine. Now start the damn car. Do you hear me? Take us to the Hilton." She was screaming now, her finger practically jabbing me in the face, completely ignoring the man beside her, whose expression was becoming a fascinating mix of shock and disgust. "Chloe, is this really your husband?" The man, Aiden, finally found his voice. It was laced with a tone of incredulous, absurd disbelief as his eyes scanned the faded, worn-out Uber driver vest I was wearing. "Shut up, Aiden." Chloe snapped at him, then turned her glare back to me, her chest heaving. "Leo, I told you to drive. Are you deaf? You're nothing but a pathetic gig driver. What right do you have to act crazy here? My life is none of your business. Take your money and get lost." She snatched the black card and threw it at me. It grazed my cheek before falling to the floor mat by my feet. The card I had worked like a dog to get for her. I slowly bent down and picked it up. It felt cold to the touch. I ran my thumb over the raised numbers. Then I looked up, meeting her furious gaze and Aiden's increasingly uncomfortable stare. "Get out," I said. "What?" Chloe asked, as if she hadn't heard me. I said, "Get out of the car," I repeated. My voice wasn't loud, but it had a hard, unyielding edge. "It's easy to get a cab here. Or maybe Mr. Aiden can call his driver to come pick you up." "Leo, you." Chloe was shaking with rage. Aiden clearly felt his pride was on the line. He adjusted the cuffs of his designer suit, trying to reclaim some of his pathetic sense of superiority. "Dude, come on, this isn't cool. Chloe said she wants to go to the hotel. You're just a driver. You take the money, you do the job. Why make it so ugly? It's just about money, right?" He pulled out his wallet, peeled off a thick wad of $100 bills, and held them out with a dismissive air. "Is this enough? If not, I can add more. Just hurry up. Don't waste our time." I looked at the cash, then back at him, and I smiled. It must have been a smile more hideous than a sob, because Aiden's outstretched hand flinched. "Aiden, is it?" I began slowly. "So you're using my wife's credit card to get a hotel room. You're using my car to take my wife to that hotel room. And now, you want to use your money to pay me, her husband, for the service of delivering you both to that hotel room." With every word I spoke, Aiden's face grew darker, and Chloe's grew paler. "You know," I paused, my eyes sweeping over the cash in his hand before landing back on his face. "For a guy who lives off a woman, you're impressively thorough. Who the hell are you calling a freeloader?" Aiden exploded, his carefully constructed composure shattering. He was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. "Chloe, look at this piece of trash you married. A goddamn Uber driver. He has the nerve to talk to me like that." Chloe completely lost it. She fumbled with her seatbelt, shrieking, "Leo, get out. Get out of my life. I want a divorce." "A divorce? Fine," I said immediately, my gaze calm and fixed on her. "But right now, get out of the car. I have to go pick up my daughter." "Your daughter? Isn't she my daughter too?" Chloe screamed, the words tumbling out without thought. "You remember she's your daughter now." I looked at her, and finally, a sliver of the pain and disgust I felt bled into my voice. "When she's at school, burning with a fever and crying for her mother. Do you remember then? That shut her up." Her eyes darted away for a second. Aiden, feeling deeply insulted, especially by a goddamn Uber driver like me, shoved his door open. He stalked around to my side of the car and started banging on the window, jabbing his finger at me through the glass. "You get the hell out here. I'll kill you. You fucking peasant. You've got a death wish." I gave him a cold glance, ignoring him. I unlocked all the doors, then reached down beside my seat and pulled out the collapsible steel baton I kept for self-defense. Driving late nights in this city, you had to be prepared. I got out of the car, holding the baton. The night air was cool on my skin. The street lights still flickered, illuminating Aiden's face, twisted with rage, and the cheap, worn vest on my body. He was a little taller than me, dressed in an expensive suit, but I was holding a weapon. The coldness in my eyes, the raw, cornered animal energy I was giving off, made him take an involuntary step back. His aggression was all bluster. What do you think you're doing? Assault is a felony, you know." "I'm not going to hit you," I said, casually tapping the baton against my palm. My gaze went past him to Chloe, who was still sitting in the car, her face ashen as she watched us. "I'm asking you to please get out of my car. Don't make me late to pick up my child." My voice was quiet, but it carried clearly in the night. Aiden didn't move. Chloe was biting her lip so hard it had to be bleeding, her fingernails digging in her palms. She looked at Aiden and me outside the car, then at the occasional passing vehicle whose occupants were staring curiously. The weight of the shame and fury was crushing her. She violently pushed her door open, her high heel cracking against the asphalt. She snatched the wad of cash from Aiden's hand, grabbed her purse, and stormed past me without a single glance. She hissed at Aiden, "Let's go." She didn't even bother to retrieve the black card from the floor of the car. Aiden, momentarily stunned, hurried after her. They looked like they were fleeing a plague, stumbling to the curb to flag down a taxi. I stood there and watched them go. I watched Chloe's elegant back, stiff with rage. I watched Aiden try to put his arm around her, only to be violently shaken off. I watched until they climbed into a cab and disappeared into the river of traffic. I bent down and picked up the wad of bills from the pavement. Crisp $100 bills that smelled of cheap cologne and humiliation. I took the money, got back in the driver's seat, and put the baton away. I tossed the cash and the black card onto the passenger seat. Seatbelt on. Ignition. Shift into drive. My hands were unnervingly steady. The car merged smoothly back into traffic, heading toward the preschool. The car still smelled of Chloe's perfume and that man's sickening cologne. I slammed the button to lower all the windows, letting the night wind rush in, scouring the car of their suffocating presence. A soft love song was playing on the radio. I reached out and violently shut it off. The world was quiet. There was only the rush of the wind and the sound of my own heartbeat, a cold, hard drumming in my chest. My phone screen lit up again. It was a voice message from the preschool teacher. I tapped it, and Mia's weak, tearful voice filled the car. "Daddy, why aren't you here yet? My head hurts, Daddy." I floored it. The car shot down the empty night street, the city lights blurring into long, abstract lines. "Mia, sweetie, hang on. Daddy's almost there." My voice, carried on the wind, was raspy, but impossibly gentle. A complete stranger to the ice-cold man from moments before. The car screeched to a halt in front of the preschool, the sound tearing through the quiet night. I practically fell out of the car. The light was on in the main office, and Ms. Davis was standing by the door, holding a small, bundled figure, her face etched with worry. "Mia." My voice was a shredded wreck. The little bundle stirred. She lifted her flushed face, her eyes watery. When she saw me, her little mouth crumpled, and a heartbreaking sob escaped. "Daddy. Wah. Daddy." She held out her little arms for me. In that single instant, Chloe, Aiden, the black car, the wad of cash, all of it was pulverized into dust. All that was left was a sharp, searing pain that pierced every corner of my heart. I ran to them, practically snatching my daughter from Ms. Davis's arms and pulling her into a tight embrace. Her little body was scorching hot, a tiny furnace against my chest. She collapsed against my shoulder, her cries weak now, just little hitches in her breath. "My head hurts. Mia's head hurts." "Daddy's here." "I'm here now, sweetie. It's okay. We're going straight to the hospital." My voice was shaking uncontrollably, but my hand was steady as I wrapped my jacket around her and ran back toward the car. "Mr. Carter." Ms. Davis called out, hurrying after me with Mia's little backpack. It came on so suddenly. I gave her some medicine, but it didn't seem to help. "I'm so sorry to call you this late." "Thank you, Ms. Davis. Thank you for everything." I didn't have time for more. I opened the back door, gently placed Mia in her car's seat, and buckled her in. She was delirious with fever, but her small hand was still clutching my finger. "Don't go, Daddy." "I'm not going anywhere. Daddy's going to fly you to the hospital." I kissed her burning forehead, shut the door, and jumped into the driver's seat. The engine roared to life, and the car shot forward like an arrow released from a bow. In the rearview mirror, Mia was curled up in her seat, her face flushed, her breathing shallow. My heart twisted into a knot. I pressed the accelerator to the floor, blew through 2 red lights, and raced toward the nearest hospital. Driving regulations, traffic laws, to hell with all of it. My daughter was sick. The emergency room was a blast of bright lights and the smell of antiseptic, filled with the cries of children. I held Mia, pacing back and forth like a caged animal, waiting for her name to be called. Every minute felt like an eternity. A triage nurse came over first, taking her temperature. 103.8. "Why did you wait so long to bring her in?" she asked, her tone sharp with reproach. Her words were like a knife in my gut. My lips moved, but I couldn't speak. All I could do was hold my daughter, so light in my arms, even tighter. Finally, it was our turn. The doctor checked her throat, listened to her heart and lungs, and asked about her symptoms. "Viral infection. You brought her in too late. She's already showing early signs of a febrile seizure. We need to give her a shot to bring the fever down, then start in 4-drip and observe her. Family, go pay the registration fee." The doctor spoke quickly, scribbling on a form and thrusting it at me. I ran to the billing window, still holding Mia. The clerk behind the glass emotionlessly stated the amount. My hand instinctively went to my pocket, my fingers brushing against the thick wad of Aiden's cash. It felt obscene. I paused for a second, then shoved it back in, reaching into my other pocket for my own worn, battered wallet. I pulled out every crumpled bill, every last bit of change I had, smoothed them out one by one, and pushed the exact amount through the slot. That dirty money had no business being used for Mia. In the infusion area, the needle stick woke Mia up. She screamed, a heart-wrenching cry that tore through me. As the needle slid into her tiny vein, I felt it in my own heart. I hummed a tuneless lullaby, gently patting her back, whispering over and over, "Daddy's here, Mia. It's okay, it'll stop hurting in just a second." Her crying slowly subsided, replaced by exhausted whimpers. The medicine must have been kicking in. She sagged against me, her breathing evening out, her little brow still furrowed as she let out an occasional hiccuping sob. I held my body in an awkward, rigid position, terrified of moving and waking her. The late-night infusion room grew quiet, the only sound the steady drip of the four. I stared at my daughter's fragile face, her long lashes still wet with tears. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I ignored it. It buzzed again stubbornly. 2 more times. Carefully, I freed one hand and pulled it out. Chloe's name glowed on the screen, along with more than a dozen missed calls and unread texts. Expressionless, I answered and put the phone to my ear without saying a word. Chloe's hysterical screaming immediately assaulted my eardrum. "Leo, where the hell are you? How dare you leave me on the side of the road? You even took Aiden's money. Have you no shame? That's it, I'm done. We're getting a divorce. We have to. You pathetic, useless gig driver. Where are you without me? And where's Mia? What did you do with Mia?" Her voice was shrill and piercing, full of the arrogant rage of someone whose pride had been wounded. There wasn't a single shred of concern for her daughter. I listened silently, waiting for her to finish. The drip, drip, drip of the four was the only other sound. In my arms, Mia stirred, disturbed by the noise. "Mommy," she murmured in her sleep. The screaming on the other end of the line stopped abruptly. A few seconds of dead silence followed. Then, Chloe's voice returned, noticeably quieter but dripping with a deeper, colder malice. "Oh, so you picked up the little millstone? Well, let me tell you something, Leo. We're getting a divorce, and you're keeping Mia. I don't want her. She's nothing but a burden. If it weren't for her..." "Are you done?" I cut her off. My voice was as calm and flat as a frozen lake, devoid of any emotion. My sudden composure seemed to choke her. "Chloe," I said slowly, each word pulled from an icebox. "Listen carefully. From the moment you got out of that car, there is only one thing left between us: negotiating the terms of our divorce. As for whether I'm useless or just a driver, that will no longer be your concern. Mia is my daughter. She was never a burden. And from now on, she is my daughter alone. And one more thing." I paused, my gaze falling on my daughter's sleeping face. My voice dropped lower, colder. "Every single charge you made on that supplementary card, including the hotel room you were about to pay for tonight, I will print out the statements and submit them to the court. That's marital property. I have every right to get my half back." "You..." Chloe's breathing on the other end became sharp and ragged. She clearly hadn't expected this reaction from me. Before she could say another word, I hung up. Clean. Final. Then I blocked her number. The world was completely quiet again. Just the four dripping and Mia's soft, even breaths. I lower my head, gently pressing my cheek against my daughter's still warm forehead. Outside the window, the sky was beginning to fade to a weak, washed-out gray. The long night was almost over. I held my daughter tighter, as if I were holding the entire world. Nothing else mattered anymore. Around dawn, Mia's temperature finally started to drop. She fell into a deeper sleep, the feverish flush on her cheeks receding to a pale, fragile white. My eyes were dry and burning. I watched, unblinking, as the last drop of medicine fell from the four bag, then called the nurse to remove the needle. The little one stirred, whimpering softly, but didn't cry. She just rested limply on my shoulder, all her energy gone. "Let's go home, Mia," I murmured, my voice so hoarse I barely recognized it. I carried her out of the hospital into the cool morning air. The city was just waking up. Street sweepers were at work, and steam was rising from breakfast carts. The ordinary scene felt distant, as if I were watching it through frosted glass. I carefully settled Mia in the back seat and buckled her in. She was asleep again almost instantly. When I got into the driver's seat, the wad of cash and the black card on the passenger seat seemed to glare at me. I started the car, but I didn't drive home. I couldn't bear to look at that place, so full of lies and betrayal. Instead, I turned into an old neighborhood and parked in front of a worn-down apartment building. This was the small apartment my mom had left me. It had been sitting empty since she passed away. I only came by occasionally to clean. It was small, but it was clean, Most importantly, it was quiet. No one would bother us here. I carried Mia upstairs, laid her down on the bed in the small bedroom, and tucked her in. She shifted in her sleep, comforted by the familiar smell of old belongings, and slept more deeply. I closed her door and walked into the cramped living room. The sky outside was bright now. My phone was vibrating like crazy in my pocket. It wasn't Chloe. She was still on the block list. It was a series of unknown numbers calling relentlessly. I answered one without speaking. Leo Carter? A man's voice, rough and threatening. Your wife's debt. When are you going to pay up? My brow furrowed. You have the wrong number. No, we don't. Chloe Carter, social security number ending in XXX. That your wife? She borrowed money from us. Got the papers right here. Principal plus interest comes to. He named an astronomical figure. She said she's broke. Told us to talk to you. A husband pays his wife's debts. That's how it works. The blood rushed my head. Chloe, you took out a loan from a fucking loan shark. Talk to the one who borrowed it, I said, my voice cold. She and I are about to have no relationship. Oh yeah? Trying to skip out on us? His voice turned vicious. We know where you live. We know what preschool your daughter goes to. You better. I hung up and blocked the number. My hand was shaking slightly. Not from fear, but from pure rage. Immediately, another call came through. It was my boss from the auto garage, his voice agitated. Leo, where are you? We've got a big job today. The customer specifically asked for you. Get your ass down here now. If you screw this up, you'll pay for it. I took a deep breath, looking at the closed bedroom door. Mia was still sick. I needed money for medical bills, for living expenses, for everything that was to come. I couldn't afford to lose this job. Boss, my daughter's sick. We're at the hospital. I really can't. I don't give a damn if your daughter's sick. He cut me off impatiently. If you're not here in 30 minutes, don't bother coming back ever. They're the line of guys who want your job. The line went dead. I stood there, clutching my phone, my knuckles white. Outside, the sunlight was harsh. Reality was a bucket of ice water dumped over my head. Divorce? Raising a child alone? It was a joke. The mess Chloe left behind, the crushing weight of just staying alive, it was enough to grind a man into dust. Another unknown number started ringing, persistent. I stared at the screen, my expression hardening, turning to ice. I answered. Mr. Leo Carter. This voice was different. Calm, professional, almost polite. Good morning. My name is Mr. Cole. I'm an attorney representing the estate of your late mother, Susan Carter. We were retained to handle some legacy matters. We've noted that the deed transfer for her property has been completed. Additionally, she established a trust fund, of which you are the sole beneficiary. The funds are now accessible. I was hoping to schedule a time to meet and discuss the details. I froze, leaning against the peeling pane of the old wall. Sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the dust motes dancing on the worn floorboards. My mother, a trust fund? The woman who spent her entire life pinching pennies, who would argue with a vendor at the farmer's market over 50 cents. On the phone, Mr. Cole calmly continued to state a figure that was, to me, astronomical, along with a series of legal terms. From the street below, I could smell the greasy aroma of a food truck. I could hear an old man coughing next door. My other phone was still vibrating, the garage owner's name flashing on screen again. I slowly lifted my head, my gaze traveling through the small window to the patch of blue sky framed by old brick buildings. Mr. Carter, are you still there? I brought my eyes back to the dusty room. My voice was steady, without a ripple of emotion. I'm here. What are your fees? Mr. Cole was remarkably efficient. By that afternoon, we had signed all the necessary documents in his office on the top floor of a skyscraper in the financial district. Sunlight poured through the massive floor-to-ceiling windows, reflecting off the polished mahogany desk. The air was cool and smelled of expensive coffee and old paper. I signed my name for the last time, the tip of the pen making a soft, scratching sound. All set, Mr. Carter. Mr. Cole pushed his gold-rimmed glasses up his nose and slid a copy of the documents toward me. The funds will be transferred to your designated account within a week. The property deed has been officially transferred. Here is the new title. I took the new, crisp folder. The embossed seal on the front felt foreign in my hand. Next to it was the trust fund agreement, the long string of zeros at the bottom, sitting there silently. Thank you, I said, placing the documents into a simple paper envelope. It looked completely out of place with my faded, worn-out t-shirt. Of course. Mr. Cole stood and offered his hand. Congratulations. I shook it. His hand was dry and warm. My fingertips were cold. Walking out of the opulent office building and onto the bustling downtown street, the sun was blinding. I squinted, the envelope in my hand feeling impossibly light and unbearably heavy at the same time. My phone rang again. It was the garage owner, his voice even more furious than before. Leo, where the hell have you been? The customer is pissed. If I lose this client, I swear to God. Then you lose the client. I interrupted him, my voice flat. He was stunned into silence, clearly not expecting that response. Then his anger erupted. What did you say? Are you telling me you quit? You son of a bitch. Yeah, I said, looking at a giant luxury billboard across the street where a model stared down indifferently at the masses. I quit. Use my last paycheck to buy yourself some blood pressure medication. Before he could curse me out again, I hung up and added his number to the block list. The resulting silence felt strange. I checked Mia into the best children's hospital in the city, in a private room, and arranged for the head of pediatrics to oversee her care. The little one lay in a clean, soft bed, and in her hand, a battery of tests already completed. Her fever was mostly gone. She was hugging a new, fluffy bunny I'd bought her, taking small sips of the broth I was feeding her. Daddy, this bunny is so soft, she said, her voice still a little hoarse, but her eyes were bright. I'm glad you like it. I wiped a bit of food from the corner of her mouth. From now on, whatever Mia wants, Daddy will buy it for you. She blinked her big eyes at me. Where's Mommy? My hand paused for a fraction of a second before I scooped up another spoonful and blew on it. Mommy had to go on a work trip very far away. She'll be gone for a long time. Oh, Mia nodded, not quite understanding, her attention quickly captured by the new bunny again. Seeing the color return to her cheeks, the block of ice in my chest finally began to melt, just a little. After settling Mia in, I went back to the old apartment. The moment I pushed the door open, I heard a furious argument inside. He has to be hiding here. Leo, get your ass out here. It was Chloe's voice, shrill and unhinged. Chloe, calm down. It's not worth getting worked up over a guy like this. That was Aiden's voice, placating, with an undercurrent of irritation. Calm down? How can I be calm? He left me on the side of the road. He blocked my number. Who the hell does he think he is? A loser. A broke nobody. He must have stolen my card. That's my card. I pushed the door fully open. In the living room, Chloe was pacing like a caged animal, her hair a mess, her expensive dress wrinkled. Aiden stood off to the side, still in his suit, but his face wore a mask of poorly concealed embarrassment and annoyance. The apartment had been ransacked. Clearly, they had been searching for something. They both froze when they saw me. Chloe's eyes went bloodshot. She lunged at me, her hand raised to slap my face. Leo, give me back my card. I easily caught her wrist. My grip wasn't tight, but it was enough to stop her cold. She struggled for a moment, then gave up, trembling with rage. Let go of me, you bastard. You stole my card. Do you have any idea how important that card is? Aiden got it from me, specifically. Chloe, I cut her off, letting go of her wrist. My gaze flickered between her and the uncomfortable-looking Aiden. That was a supplementary card. The primary card is with me. I pulled the main black card from my old wallet and dangled it in front of her. And as of this morning, it's been canceled. Chloe's pupils constricted, the rage on her face morphing into stunned disbelief. What did you say? You wouldn't dare. That's mine. Yours? I looked at her, a cold, humorless smile touching my lips. To spend the money I earned eating trash for 3 years to support your boy toy? Chloe, what is your shame made of? Chloe's face went white, then flushed a deep, mottled red, as if my words had been a physical slap. She was choking on shame and fury. What? What are you talking about? Leo, you're lying. Aiden is just a friend. We were at a work dinner. It's your fault for being a failure. For not making enough money. Did you expect me to live in poverty with you? Aiden stepped forward, tried to puff out his chest. Leo, show some respect. Chloe's been with you for years, and you've never given her a decent life. You have the nerve to blame her? Reinstate the card now, and apologize to Chloe. Or else. Or else what? I turned to him, my eyes growing cold. Or else you'll have your loan shark friends keep calling me. Or maybe you'll go to my daughter's preschool and wait for her there. Aiden's face changed dramatically, his eyes darting away. I don't know what you're talking about. Chloe froze, looking from me to Aiden, her expression full of suspicion. What loan sharks? Aiden, what is he talking about? He's talking nonsense. Aiden said quickly, trying to pull Chloe's arm. Chloe, don't listen to him. He's trying to drive a wedge between us. Let's go. There's nothing to say to this loser. Loser? I repeated. I slowly pulled the new property title and the trust fund agreement from the plain paper envelope and held them up for them to see. Can you read? I pointed to the name on the title, owner, Leo Carter, and then to the long string of numbers on the agreement. Take a look. Is this enough to cover that business deal you lost? Chloe's eyes were glued to the numbers on the agreement. They widened in shock, as if she were seeing the most impossible thing in the world. Her lips began to tremble, and the rage, shame, and hysteria on her face slowly dissolved, replaced by a profound, overwhelming sense of shock and absurdity. Aiden saw it too. The color drained from his face. His mouth fell open like a suffocating fish. He couldn't speak, his eyes filled with a mixture of horror and ravenous greed. Sunlight streamed in through the window, landing on the black ink and white paper, making it almost painfully bright. I put the documents away, looking at the two figures frozen before me, their expressions a symphony of greed and shock. Now, my voice was quiet, but each word landed like a stone in the dead air. Get out of my mother's house. Get out. Chloe looked as if she'd been struck by lightning. She stood frozen, her eyes still fixed on the envelope in my hand, a look so intense it could have set the paper on fire. Shock, greed, disbelief, and a terrifying panic at the chasm that had just opened up between us warred for control of her face. A trust? She stammered, as if learning to speak for the first time. Your mom. That cheap old woman. How could she?